of my podcast. And as you already know, today's guest is gonna be Jer Flanagan from Ireland. And the topic of today is gonna be all about LinkedIn lead gen for busy marketing agency founders. As usual, if you don't know me, my name is Arthur. I have been working in marketing for 4 years, all about search engine optimization, and in the last 2 years and something, also I worked on LinkedIn. Currently based in Finland, so if you're around here, just drop me a DM. Before I leave some time to Jer for his introduction, I just want to give you a quick overlook of how things will work in case you didn't join my previous podcasts. I have my phone here, so if it seems that I'm looking on my phone, it's not because I'm distracted, but it's just because I'm keeping an eye on the comments incoming and on the next question to Jer. And that's it. So from my side, this is it. And this is the moment for our guest, Jer. Thank you so much for joining this podcast. My guests are getting better and better, so thank you so much for accepting this. And for our audience, do you mind giving a quick intro of who you are, what you do, where you're based?
Yeah, thanks, Arthur. Delighted to be here, and yeah, have been a big fan of yourself on LinkedIn over the past year to 2 years. So yeah, great to get on the podcast. As you said, I'm from Ireland, a small little county on the west coast, so called Mayo. And to just give a bit of background who I am, I started out my career as a journalist. So I did my undergrad in journalism, worked as a sports journalist for a local newspaper for 5 or 6 years after college. During that time, then I went studying a part-time master's degree. Then I worked in for the largest sports retailer in Ireland called Intersport Elveries for 4 years. Worked in SEO content and the SEO side of the digital marketing online team. And then about 2 years ago, then I set up Acquire Digital, which is a LinkedIn ghostwriting and lead generation business, and went full time on it. Near enough a year now, I think coming up on a year now. So yeah, been a great start to entrepreneurialism. But yeah, in short, being a professional writer for over 10 years of my life, and a digital marketer for the 5 or 6.
Okay, cool. And how long have you been on LinkedIn?
Oh, so I think I set up my LinkedIn like 10 years ago and never really used it. Gave it the odd kind of, hey, delighted to start a new job kind of post every like 4 or 5 years, and then it was just like crickets after that. But no, about 2 years ago, just over 2 years ago, I became aware that the phenomenon that was ghostwriting. Actually, a guy I used to go to school with, he was a year ahead of me in school. I met him by chance in a local shop in our town here, and hadn't seen him in years. I asked him, what are you doing? What are you up to? And he was telling me about this ghostwriting that he was doing, which ironically he was actually doing on X at the time,
Wow.
and was migrating over to LinkedIn, and he was just getting setting up his kind of coaching business out. But his name was Colin Galler. He's the AI influencer, if anyone wants to look him up. And basically started learning LinkedIn ghostwriting and lead generation through Colin, and that's when I started to get serious, I suppose, on LinkedIn, which is probably about 3 years ago.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think in that period we had a big boom of people joining LinkedIn.
Mm.
It started 3 years ago, and then I think we had another bump 1 year ago. But I remember I started using LinkedIn in 2017, but I still keep telling to people that I started really using it 3 years ago, because before it was just about a CV, or I was sharing some random things like what has been the coolest tank during the World War II, like complete nonsensical things, because I had no clue what LinkedIn was and how to grow there.
Yeah,
And
it's funny. It's funny though, is like everyone. Some people who I tell what I do to, they still think that LinkedIn is just, the kind of, you give the odd job update. And then, at some stage in your life, you might never do it, but at some stage in your life, then you actually get to realize that, there's a good community of creators on LinkedIn. And like ultimately, that's how I met you. I saw your content, just started engaging with your content, and I always found it really good. And, here we are. So you meet new people, you meet great people, and there's a lot more to it when you get kind of underneath the surface, isn't there?
Yeah, yeah. What I feel from when I speak with people is that they still think that LinkedIn is the boring corporate social, but what they didn't really realize is that LinkedIn has evolved and is keeping evolving, and the people on LinkedIn make it evolve because you can be still, of course, the boring corporate person who shares just some polished content, but you can also be like us who are sharing educational content, but there are also people out there doing some vertical videos with a penguin hat on them. So now LinkedIn, you can do many things. As long as you deliver value, you can do many things on this social. And I don't know you, but every time I speak with my friends, I need somehow to justify that I'm on LinkedIn because it really changed my life, and I hope that they will invest on LinkedIn as well. Because one day or another, people will either start their business or they will lose their job because of the layoffs. So
Yeah.
uh, it seems that the company is going a bit crazy with lays off. But it seems that people don't fully realize how powerful this social can be.
For sure, for sure. Yeah,
But
it's funny though, like, but it's got so popular now with people just writing more personal stuff as well, and just sharing a bit about their life. And I'm not gonna say it's gone full like TikTokification or anything like that, but there's, the whole video editing side, and the time people are putting into their video content right now, I think is definitely improving, and it's becoming more of an entertainment platform, and an educational platform, as opposed to being that kind of corporate one that you talked about, really, isn't it?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we have seen these changes, and but this makes us transition to the first question. So the topic of today is all about the target audience of today. In theory, is all about business founders, marketing business founders who need to increase their leads. One day or another, we can all become agency founders. So what the first question that is gonna be is, and I felt this struggle as well. For this reason, I decided to put this question in the list: is why are marketing agencies? First of all, do you think that marketing agencies are struggling to generate leads? And if so, why do you think this happens? Beside, despite being marketeers.
Yeah, great question. And this is like the great irony that I get from talking to, because the majority of my clients I work with are actually agency owners. That's predominantly 90% of the people that I ghostwrite for. And so many of them are not actually doing any really marketing themselves. So they're marketing agencies, but they're not marketing themselves, which is crazy to think about it. And a lot of the time, and look, let's to put a bit more context into it. The agencies that I generally work with are between like 5 and 50 people in size. Give or take between that number. A lot of the times they just don't have kind of the resources really to go full time marketing themselves. They put all their time into marketing their clients and trying to keep their clients happy and trying to deliver results for their clients, which is completely understandable. Everyone does that, but they completely neglect building up their own brand and just trying to start a pipeline, and just you know um, settling on all the referrals that they're getting. And a lot of them are doing okay with referrals. They do get enough referrals to keep the doors open and keep the business alive. But those looking to scale, those looking for growth, that's when they kind of need the pipeline building. It's only when they start building the pipeline then they realize they should have been doing this like 2 years ago.
Mhm. But based on your experience, if you look at these founders who have been struggling even for 2 years with lead gen, what are the main blockers that you spot when you do the first audit, when you have the first month, 2 months of work with them?
I would say generally they don't really they aren't very clear on who they're trying to go after. They're trying to hit everyone.
Mm.
They have a very kind of vague offer that they're trying to hit every single industry with, and they don't really they're not keen to niche down, or they just don't really know how to. So one of the very first things that I try and do with my clients is that we come up with a really solid offer, and then we just find a particular niche or ICP that we can drill down to, and then put our all their intentions in that, and just stop the very vague, trying to please everyone, and delivering a kind of very vague result for them, because it just doesn't work. It gets lost in the noise. And right now, like, there is so much noise out there on LinkedIn from other marketing agencies. If you don't have something different, if you don't have something unique to your ICP, then you're just going to basically blend into all that noise, and you're wasting your time.
Mhm. When you mention something unique, what do you mean? Because, for example, my mind goes in the first second goes to this design. I don't know why, but it goes to the design of my content to hook the attention, and then of course I need also to solve a concrete pain point. What do you mean by when you're mentioning something unique?
So in terms of uniqueness, I would say, and I'm kind of talking about the ghostwriting side here, is, what makes your agency or you as a CEO or the founder unique, in that people are going to want to work with you, people are going to want to trust with you, and people are going to want to become part of your audience, or your community. And that's about good storytelling, that's about good content writing, and just consistent delivering on, content to your audience. I would also say about uniqueness is just trying to find your offer, just trying to make your offer just that 5% better than everyone else. Whether that is, for example, my offer generally with my clients is that I'll deliver you like 3 to 10 clients in the next 150 days through LinkedIn. And then to really kind of add a bit of meat to that bone on that offer, I'll offer a guarantee with it as well. And that's not always possible to do for a lot of offers, particularly for SEO. How do you offer a guarantee with SEO, whatever. But it's just trying to find out something that makes your offer just that bit more different to, the person down the road who's going to be doing similar offer to you, trying to target the same people, and have the same deliverables.
Okay. Here I tend to make a concrete example. Tell me if is the appropriate one. I want to make an example about the wrong positioning, because here it seems that we are talking also about the positioning.
Hmm.
One example of a wrong positioning that I'm thinking of is I help companies grow. Is it something that you suggest marketing founders to change?
Well, I would say what company? I mean,
Okay, great. Yeah, that's the point, because
yeah,
I've seen
just go
headlines.
vague. I mean, like, Jesus, is a company like a one-person company, or is it an enterprise company?
Let's start from that. But let's go with, let's niche a little bit down. Let's mention that you have a headline like, I help B2B companies grow with performance marketing.
Hmm.
Do you think this could work a bit better, or still needs to be niched down even further?
It's not so much niching down, but it's just making that offer, like, it's still very vague. It's like, what can you do? What can you deliver in a next period of time that is going to catch it? So, you have, like, you're niching down by having a particular type of company, which is fine. We're not talking you to go absolutely go hell for leather and niche down minuscule levels, but at least if you have a good general idea of the company and the industry, maybe the company size, which is always a good one, and then, your deliverables, your X deliverable in X time. I always find with my clients, if you can include that in your offer, it's just something that jumps at the ICP that bit more, because it's triggering emotions with them, and that's ultimately what copywriting is. Because this is copywriting essentially. It's writing something that'll hit their emotion, um, whether that be fear, whether that be financial, or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm. So to recap, your suggestion is make your the pain point that you solve very clear, and
Mhm.
also put a clear time frame in it.
It always helps. It absolutely always helps. And this is something I found talking to my clients as well. Business is so unpredictable. People like to forecast when they're going to get these results. Another thing that I always get asked by my clients is about, you know, yes, I say I can deliver these clients in 150 days, but they always say to me then, do I have to do 150 days as your minimum? So they obviously want to achieve this, but they're just not fully committed just yet to go, all right, 150 days all in. So I just do 30-day roll of monthly contracts, and it just eases them a bit more. So if something happens with their business midway through that, they can pause, they can cancel it, and it just eases the fear that they might have about making a big investment in something and something going wrong, and then not being able to do it. So I also always find, time is such a big thing in an offer, be it the deliverable on time or the obviously the contractual side of it too.
Okay, cool. Thank you, man. I think we can also move on to the next question. This is a bit punchy, but I still would like to do it. The question is, what do you think is the difference, if any? You just can reply, no, there is no difference. We move on to the next question. But what's the difference between a $500 per month LinkedIn Ghostwriter and a top notch that goes up to 3K, 4K, 5K per month?
Well, I think any business owner can get a $500 a month ghostwriter by just using Claude or using ChatGPT. And I mean, if that's what you want to do, by all means, go and do that. You can train that GPT, you can train that language to write really good content for you, and it will do the job if that's what you're up to. Like I use Claude quite a lot in my writing. I use it with all my clients, and it's really really effective. The difference in actually having a ghostwriter is someone that's actually going to be able to tell your story in an authentic way. LLMs are great and you can train them to do really good things, but they still don't fully grasp emotion. And the only way that as a ghostwriter, I'm able to talk to my clients every single week, talk to them about their pain points, talk to them about their customers, talk to them about the conversations that they had with their customers, and then write content about that. The way I do it with my clients is that I'll sit down every single week, and this is something that I developed from my journalism background as well. And I just basically I'll interview them. I'll use the GPT model that I've built, or the Claude project that I've built out, and built a very detailed persona of my clients. I'll come up with some good questions, and then we'll sit down for an hour, and I'll basically interview them. I get all the detail as possible, and then I'll go away and I'll write a really personalized piece of content from that. I generally have my clients are all kind of 6 to 8 months minimum terms in terms of how long I'm working with them. So I really know them. I know their tone of voice. I know how they want to talk. And an awful lot of people are just more comfortable of actually talking to a human being and trusting a human being to get their kind of story out there. And tell it in an authentic way. A lot of the CEOs that I talk to just aren't fully comfortable with having AI driven content all the time. They want to feel like it's actually coming from their heart or coming from their head, um, because it reflects better on their brand. So in short, by all means, if you want to go ahead and get Claude Max for the month, you will do a really good content strategy using that. If you feed it the appropriate knowledge, and you can get it to structure proper posts, absolutely. But if you want someone to actually tell a long term, employ good storytelling techniques, good digital marketing, conversion psychology in your posts, and tell your authentic story, then get a ghostwriter. I don't charge $500 a month for my ghostwriting skills. So I can't tell you exactly what you need for a $5,000 ghostwriter is, but there's a clear difference.
Sure, makes sense. Yeah, also, if you think about it, let's mention that a marketing agency founder wants to go with Claude doing things on their own.
Hmm.
Between prompting, having the first draft, humanizing the draft, creating, even if you want to go even the next to the next level. Creating the image, that takes at least 1 hour.
Hmm.
You wanna go, you wanna do something very quick, let's say 35 minutes, 40 minutes. If you consider that the average hourly fee for an Europe-based marketing agency is between somewhere between 100 and 250 dollars per hour. You're talking about big money if you wanna imagine it's just more convenient to outsource these things and just work on your client stuff because that client is paying you 250 and just it's just a better ROI in my opinion in some
Yeah.
situations.
Well,
Yeah, of course.
I will add to that as well, and that is, and a lot of people I talk to will always say to me, the CEOs, they'll always say like, okay, they have tried the Claude route, or the GPT route, and you know, tried to create their own content, and for a week or two, we said it went well, but after that, they said they stopped doing it because they didn't have the time, and then they realized that they you know, they actually don't like doing this, like they're not really that creative, or they're not really great writers or whatnot. So they end up just going along the ghostwriter route, and it's you know, it's all about the prompt, as you said. If you can, you know, I'm still a big advocate for some founders, small agency founders, owners using Claude. But if you can just create a really good prompt brief, you know, of you and who you are and your views and your ICP, and your client results, you will be able to create a pretty good project there.
Yeah, so I hope as many marketing agency founders are gonna listen to this. In the meantime, I'm keeping an eye on the questions, so some are incoming already. But in the meantime, let's move on to the next question, which is 1 hour ago, I was in a call with an agency, a marketing agency, and they told me that so far they have been investing more on their business profile, on the company profile.
Mm.
Now, I know you are a ghostwriter. You made it clear that you're working with founders, also because this podcast is about founders. But I'm pretty sure that out there we still have many founders who are thinking that the company business profile is enough to generate leads. Now, I have my question about this. What is your point of view on this? Is the business LinkedIn profile, company profile enough to generate a good amount of leads or far from that?
I'd say far from that. Now, I believe it is an important part of the overall strategy, without a doubt. But you know, if you think of it from the perspective of the customer journey, and the LinkedIn profile. First of all, LinkedIn is not going to show your profile content to a lot of people, and every social media platform, they don't want business post pages spamming personal feeds, because no matter what kind of content it is, if it's coming from a company page, it feels a bit salesy, you know, and that's an off putter absolutely straight away. So if you, you know, if you think of the customer journey, most people go out of their way and try and find a company page. So they might have been made aware of the company, they might have landed on their site through Google or through AI search or wherever, and then they've gone to look at their company page to see what they're about, to see if they're posting regularly, and then that just might help move them along the conversion funnel. Whereas if you're going to be posting organically on your personal LinkedIn profile, then you're actually going to start customers out on the customer journey at the very top of the funnel and the bottom of the funnel. Because if you're writing good content and the algorithm is showing it to the right amount of people, then you're able to create an audience there. People who have never heard of you before, people who have never heard of your company before, people who aren't fully aware that they have a problem that you're going to be able to solve yet. You can do all that on your personal profile. Along with that, then you can convert all those people on your personal profile too. You can't do that on a company page. You just can't generate enough top of the funnel content and make people aware of your business through a company page, because the algorithms are set up to not do that. So yeah, it's still important to do a company page, but if you're going to be relying on that as your lead generation platform from organic content, then you're wasting your time. And this is the ironic thing as well. Every company I talk to, every CEO and founder think that they have to be doing like some organic content strategy. And generally their organic content strategy is a company page on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever it is they want. But they don't really ever go looking for like a return on that organic content strategy. They just feel like they have to be doing it. So they are doing it. Whereas if you're posting on your personal page, that is actually an organic content strategy that can get you a return if you do it right. So there's a huge difference.
Makes sense. Now I have an even better question when they make an even better answer when they make this question. So really, thank you for this. Let's move on. This is the one of the off-path questions that I was mentioning before. So the question is, let's talk about concrete tips about the type of content that you think works best on a founder LinkedIn profile. Is there an ideal mix that you usually suggest founders follow?
Not really. And I know an awful lot of people always ask me this is, what's your kind of content strategy? Is that, 40% of this, 40% of that, 20% of this? Not so much. I generally like to mix it up, a top of the funnel and a middle of the funnel and a bottom of the funnel content piece every single week, kind of without fail. And then what kind of pieces of content that you put within each of those funnels can be different. So what I'm finding with founders is there's a couple of pieces of content that work really, really well. Firstly, it's personal posts, and you do this really well on LinkedIn, and I find my personal posts always perform really well because people buy from people ultimately, and they always want to know and feel a bit closer and feel like they know the CEO. And the CEO of a company, the founder of a company, generally has a lot of good stuff to share. They've been through the trenches. They've had the good days, they've had the bad days, and people are always very curious about that. The more personal you can get, and the more you can kind of resonate with the normal person in your ICP, the better. That's a really, really good piece of content. The second piece of content that I'm always urging my clients to do as well is like a contrarian piece of content. Share an unpopular opinion. If you curse in real life, don't be afraid to swear in your LinkedIn posts. I feel like there's not enough controversial content on LinkedIn. There's so much content where people are trying to like tell you how to do this and tell you how to do that, and this is what we did, and it's fantastic. But there's not enough people actually writing controversial stuff, and that's what people crave. Like, look at TikTok, look at Instagram, look at Facebook. It craves controversy. People and humans crave that controversial opinion. Now, it might piss people off, without a doubt, because it's going to be an opposite opinion to them. But if you want to stand out amongst a very, very busy space right now, and particularly in the marketing industry, there's a lot of people on LinkedIn that are in marketing and are writing content. If you want to stand out and put your head above the parapet, do not be afraid to share that contrarian view you have.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay, so to recap what you just said, tell me if I'm wrong. You suggest to share at least one bottom of the funnel case study per
Yeah.
week, and about the middle of the funnel content, do you usually share one per week, two per week of those?
Typically one. I try and aim for one, but sometimes it can venture into two, all depending on how the week goes. For that particular founder, they could just send me a voice out and say, here, look, we've done a really, really good test there last week. This is the results we got. Can you write up a post like that? And that can come in sporadically, and then I'll write that up, for example. So yeah, there's always room for additional pieces of content in around the middle of the funnel.
Okay. And what is the average time commitment of the founders you're working with?
Typically about 90 minutes, 60 to 90 minutes a week is kind of what I get from them. Sometimes more, sometimes less, depending on. We put a lot of time into lead magnets as well, and that's kind of where a lot of our content focus is right now. So I would like to, and generally I'll send them a brief on a Monday, what I would like them to do, what I would like them to try and pull together, and say, I'm going to block 90 minutes in your calendar this week. We'll hop on for the first 60 minutes, and then that last 30 minutes, I want you to use, excuse me, I want you to use that last 30 minutes to create that lead magnet. So that's kind of, and sometimes it can venture into the 2 hour phase then if you want to review the content, because some of them are more detailed than that. They actually want to review the content before it goes out. And some of them are just happy enough to kind of let it go. But on average, 60 to 90 minutes.
Okay, cool. And you come with a set of questions every week?
Sometimes it depends on it depends on how much they got done the last week. Like a lot of the time, uh, we could get 2 weeks worth of content in 60 minutes. You could get 3 weeks worth of content in 60 minutes. It just all depends on how the last couple of weeks have gone, or how the conversation goes. It's very important. 60 minutes is actually not a lot of time when you're on a call with someone and you're getting content. So it's very important to be kind of regimental with how you're trying to get that content. So, you ask them a question, and then, you know, you stick to the structure about, tell me about the pain point, tell me about the context of this, how this person came to you, tell me how you solved it and how you went about implementing your solution, and then tell me a bit about the results, and something like that. So that's generally how you kind of stick to the structure. And oftentimes, these are a lot of these CEOs are very good storytellers, so they will go off on tangents. So sometimes you kind of have to recognize, like, right, this is not really going to be of any value here, and we're losing time. So I'm just going to kind of very politely tell you to shut up here.
Okay, cool. Wait, so you're basically generating fresh content. Like you don't use the so-called what's the name, borrowed knowledge. Like for example, you go to a blog post of a great magazine or scientific paper, blah blah, and you reshare that content. All the content that you generate as a ghostwriter comes directly from the founder's mind.
Pretty much 90% of it. That's kind of what we pride myself on, and that's what I pride myself on, is that because they've so much content in their head, or within their team. So, like, I'll ask them for access to their Slack channels, or I'll ask them for access to, some of their team calls or their client review calls, and get the transcript from that. And there's all unbelievable content to get from that. A lot of founders don't realize, and CEOs don't realize, where, there's so many opportunities on a daily, weekly basis, that they have to write really good content. It's just a matter of actually trying to unlocking those and creating processes and systems where I can get access to it ultimately, and then write the content out of it. And all the time you might have to go and, you know you take a blog like you said there, and write something like that and just put their spin on it. Or, you can get a blog and you can show it to them and say, give me your opinion on that. Would you agree with it? Would you disagree with it? Or whatnot. So there's just, the possibilities are endless.
Mhm. And what if I ask you, this is also one of the questions, what if I ask you, is there some example of a question or questions that you ask to the marketing agency founders, so you let them uncover their real challenges or the real pain points that they solve? Can you make an example of a question that you usually do or you did?
So one of my favorite questions, and the simplest questions that I ask any of my founders and CEOs every week, is, tell me about a conversation you had with a client last week. Tell me about what pain point they came with you, or what was the issue. How did you solve it? Are you still solving it? Have you not solved it, or whatnot? And just give me insight. And that is where the richest content from be, because it's literally from the horse's mouth. It's literally their clients telling them uh, what issues they're having. Or it could be a prospect call, or it could be, something they heard at an event that they went to. It's just drilling into the conversations that they've had, because 90%, 80% of the conversations that these people are having, it's with prospects, and it's with clients, and it's actual pain points of these people, actual issues. They're not just going to chat GPT and asking for a persona of people. They actually know these people and talk to them. So you get really, really good content there. You also get some really pretty funny content in as well. You hear like some horror stories of people, like an SEO digital PR client I had. One of their clients was playing around with the back end of their site and basically crashed the whole thing for a couple of hours, just because he went down a rabbit hole in his site, and was messing around with stuff that he shouldn't have been doing. And then absolutely hit the panic button and rang my client, and they got it solved within a few hours. But you just get some great stuff.
Hmm. Cool. Nice. So, I would like to make you one question that we partially answered at the beginning of the podcast, but many people joined after. So, um, what is that an error, multiple errors that you noticed marketing agency founders are making when they're starting on LinkedIn or when they have been running even for 1 year or 2 years?
Yeah, there's a few. I would say when people are starting on LinkedIn, and the most common one is that they just go too hard, too fast, and just kind of burn out. They've read somewhere where that you need to be posting like 3, 4, 5 times a week, commenting 40 times a day, DMing 50 people a day, and they go hard on that because it's a shiny new tool, and there's an element of like shiny object syndrome with this, and after 2 or 3 weeks they're just not seeing the results for the time that they're put in, because it's quite a lot, and they just stop, and they just they go cold turkey. And that's a huge error for those who are maybe have been messing about with it for a year and doing it here and there. The biggest problem I see is that they're just inconsistent. They're posting maybe once a week, then they'll do it for 2 or 3 times a week, and then they'll just stop posting for 2 or 3 weeks. There'll be no real strategy with what they're doing. They won't really be consistent in their messaging. They won't be doing any kind of consistent outreach strategy to people. It's just like spray and pray kind of stuff. So it's a very distinct difference if they're starting off. I generally find they can just go too hard, too heavy. My advice would be just take it easy. You know, aim for 1 to 2 quality posts a week, and that's what's the algorithm is kind of promoting now as well. It's promoting a quality over quantity approach to it. So if you're just starting out, just take it slow. 1 or 2 posts a week is good. Get clear on your messaging. Get clear on who you're trying to target. Send a few consistent DMs. Send a few connection requests. If you're trying it yourself for the past year and you're finding like you're falling off the horse every now and then, again, it's bringing it back to basics. It's trying to implement a strategy that you're going to be able to keep up. Find what works for you. Some people find that if they write some content on a Saturday morning, it's generally a good headspace that they're going to be able to be in, and then they can schedule that content for the next 2 or 3 weeks, and then they don't have to worry about content for the next 2 weeks, and they maybe spend 30 minutes a day doing some engagement and doing some DMs, and just try and find something that fits into your daily schedule, because that's ultimately what it is from a long-term point of view, is trying to fit LinkedIn into your schedule alongside your working day, alongside your social life, etc.
Yeah. Let's go. Let's talk about one specific thing of LinkedIn that I. No, I don't say this because then I spoil the things. But I want to talk about the comments. What is, as a ghostwriter and as a marketing agency founder yourself, because this is what you are, what is your point of view about comments on LinkedIn when it comes to building a personal brand, generating leads, and just growing on LinkedIn?
So this is I love this talking point because it just pisses people off on LinkedIn. Some people have this opinion on it, some people have this opinion on it, and the people in the middle just kind of get overshouted by either side. So
That's me.
yeah. So the way I look at it, engagement, if you put time and effort into the platform with engagement, which is commenting, the platform will reward you. I mean, that is a fact that no one, no matter how smart they think they are, or no matter how much they know of the platform, they cannot disagree with that. So from that point of view, that is why I do recommend to be commenting on a daily basis, because you're basically putting in the time, and the algorithm is going to return that for you. But you want to use that time right, and you want to do it correctly as well. You don't want to be just using an AI bot putting the question into putting the post into LinkedIn or ChatGPT and asking it to spit you out a response and copy and paste it. You don't really want to be doing that either, because people just get pissed off at you and you just come across as a bot. And we all see,
Great insights.
yeah, yeah, truly wonderful, authentic stuff. But what I will generate, and it's, starting off, it's really important, and you know this, and this is how you and I met, is because I was putting, when I started taking LinkedIn seriously, I was doing an awful lot of commenting, an awful lot of engaging, and you were one of the people that I came across, and we started commenting on each other's stuff. I comment on your stuff, you comment on my stuff, and we developed a friendship. And there's that principle of reciprocity there, and that boosts your engagement. So that's, from an engagement point of view, if you're starting off on your LinkedIn, you're going to need more of that. You're going to need to find a bit of a community there, a bit of a tribe who's going to help give your posts a boost, as well as obviously balancing the comments with your ICP and people you want to target, and making insightful comments there. Uh, if you're posting regularly and you have good engagement and you have good reach, you don't want to be posting and ghosting, because I think it looks bad. I think if people do go out of their way and leave a genuine comment on your post, then I think the least you can do is actually respond to them in meaningful time. I always try and return comments on my post within the hour. Sometimes it's not possible, and I'll go in the evening and return them, or I might even go in a few days later and go back and return them. But it's really, really critical that you do respond to every single comment on your post, no matter how big you are, no matter how many followers you are, or how little followers you have. I think it's just a manners. It's just a thing about respect. A very simple commenting strategy people can follow, and it doesn't take an awful lot of time. In general, this is what I aim for. Aim for about a minimum of 10 comments per day. It'll take you 15, 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes at the start. But if you can just nail down 10 outside of replying to your posts and stuff like that, and break it up, 5 of those can be to like fellow creators, say you and I. Maybe do 2 or 3 posts to your ICP who lists you've built on LinkedIn Sales Navigator, and then maybe put 2 or 3 comments onto, say, a large creator who is in a similar space to you, has a much bigger audience than you, but you just kind of want to tap into that audience, and just become kind of a bit more seen in that area. So it's very, very simple, 10 to 12 comments. You'll get it done in 15, 20 minutes a day, every single day. And I guarantee you, the algorithm will reward you. You can also see on the algorithm right now, you can see on your own page, you can see how many impressions your likes are getting. So that is a way of LinkedIn telling us subconsciously or subtly that they are actually rewarding engagement.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. If it was not for the comments now, I would have not been here with you. I would have not been working with the co-founder I'm working here in Helsinki. Many things would not happen without the comments. Um, but I also realized that when you are a LinkedIn organic agency providing LinkedIn growth to business founders and marketing founders, comments are a tough nut to
Mm.
crack, because we just say that don't go with AI generated comments, like, for example, great insights. In the vast realm of chaos, you are a super nice creator. Don't go with these comments. But at the same time, it's hard to write a comment that gets noticed. It
Mm.
takes time, as you say, 10 comments, 30 minutes. Many founders don't have that time. How do you treat your clients when it comes to comments? Do you find a middle ground between great insights and a mini blog post, or you go in one of those directions?
Yeah, so no, great question, and I should have added this. So, by all means, I'm not saying don't use AI to help you do comments.
No.
Absolutely do, but don't just copy and paste. So this goes back to what we said a few minutes ago. It's about building out a master prompt of who for what I do. So basically build a large Google Doc of my clients, and it gives the GPT or the LLM a full rundown of who they are, their voice, how they like to talk, what their message is, what their ICP is, and examples of posts that they've written that they like, examples of posts that they don't like, language and tone that they don't like, or whatever. It's, basically them in a Word document. And I just insert all the knowledge that we've had from our transcripts as well. So then I have like a prompt with Claude where I ask it to, give me a short, snappy response to this question using your knowledge that you have, that I've provided to you. And then I say, if you haven't any relevant knowledge to this, try and leave something insightful. If you don't have anything insightful to say, don't leave a comment. So at least it's not scraping the barrel to get a really good comment. Then click that, see what it gives you, and then just kind of rewrite it slightly. So generally, I'll aim for like a sentence to 2 sentence max. Um, most people aren't going to take any longer and actually read the comments. Sometimes it can be just a quick sentence, but it's nice to try and, I think, always ask a question or move the conversation on, or just kind of provide maybe an insight that my clients would have to this particular post, to this particular subject or topic.
Yeah, that sounds great. By the way, I'm on the phone because I'm replying to the questions, so there are some incoming. But I totally understand you also because Claude and also ChatGPT has that beautiful thing called project. So you can add the files, it gets
Exactly.
trained on it, and I totally agree with this. Like going with a very long, detailed question expose you and the marketing founder to a potential risk
Yeah.
because the more information you put in, the higher is the risk of misleading information. So better to keep a very short but useful, or maybe funny, depends by what the founder agrees on, or maybe funny quote. You provide value, you get noticed, but you don't expose neither of you to risks. So
Yeah, and that's all about getting to know the client too. Like, how do they want to be perceived? How do their brand want to be perceived? Like, one of my clients he's a CEO of an influencer marketing agency. They're creative, vertically aligned agency, and he's very adamant that he wants his brand to be contrarian, and he wants to be this person who is calling out the bullshit in the influencer marketing agency. Whereas one of my other clients then is, very positive. He's the CEO of a customer experience agency that works for Fortune 500 companies, and he's a marketing genius and a financial expert too. He likes to be just a bit more soft and casual with his comments, and just trying and provide insight where possible, as always. So it's all about just asking the client how do they want to be perceived, and then trying to develop that over time. Sometimes you're going to get it wrong, and they'll send you an email like, "Didn't really like that comment." Maybe don't do that. But that's something that you just kind of have to dip your toes in the water and learn.
hey man, just your mic I think got disconnected in the last 10 seconds. No
Can
worries.
you hear me?
Yeah, now it's perfect again.
Apologies. So what did you miss me on?
No, just the last 10 seconds. But we totally understood your what you said before. Depends by the client. Some wants to be more formal. Some depends wants to be more casual. You made an example of the last client in the customer support. He wants to be a bit more casual.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. And I would say that it's what I always do is it's about dipping the toes in the water to see what they like, and sometimes you get that email from them that says they don't like this. Please rein that back a bit. So you're like, okay, but you have to do it. I always say to them, this is how I learn. Is just kind of pushing the boundary.
Okay, so let's dedicate the last few minutes to the actual ghostwriters because I'm sure that we have also people like me, like you, who are providing LinkedIn services to somebody else in this live, or they're gonna watch this video in a few days, weeks, months. How do you treat customer feedback? Like, do you prefer do you think it's better if a client gives you a feedback at the end of a sprint made of 2 3 weeks, or you prefer the client to give those feedbacks day by day, or at least in the first hour, in the first 20 minutes after posting?
I find as much feedback as possible really important, particularly in the first. I always say within those first 2 or 3 weeks that we're working together, first month, say, I always say, you know, feedback, feedback, feedback. Tell me what you like and tell me what you don't like, and be as ruthless as possible with it, with every post, with every comment. And if they do that over time for 2 or 3 weeks, you get a really good sense of what they like and what they don't like, and that makes everything more streamlined afterwards. I know people who are, and I know some ghost writers who are very much a done for you, and they just want to kind of go away and do their thing and uh, give the stuff to their client, and you know, not disregard what they say, but kind of like, this is the way I'm doing it. You know, this is what we signed upon, and this is how we're going to do it. Whereas I'm a bit more hands on, because I just feel it helps build a better relationship over time. You know, you make the mistakes early, you refine the process, you refine how they want to come across, and then you'll have a much smoother relationship, and a much more consistent brand going forward. So yeah, it's all about the feedback. Some of it can be brutal. You need to be thick skinned for sure, but you know, I'm ginger, so I'm naturally thick skinned.
Nice. Okay. So let's talk about DMs in this
Mm.
last minutes. What is, as a ghostwriter, what is your approach toward DMs when it comes to managing marketing agency founders? And what is your recommendation for these marketing agency founders in case they want to go with DMs on their own? How do you treat them? Is there ideal amount of DMs or a sequence of messages that you suggest to send, or you are sending yourself in case you are doing that? Don't know
Yeah,
if you.
there's a few different strategies that I kind of do. Generally, I like to do the DMs with my clients. I feel it you need to balance both. You need to be doing content and you need to be doing a DM strategy, and they need to align if you really want to get the best results. I wouldn't say I have a number per day. I don't use a KPI like that, because I just feel like some days you can do more, some days you can do less. And a good commenting kind of sequence that I'm finding I'm having an awful lot of successes right now is filter, obviously build your list and filter the people who are posting on LinkedIn. So, you know, find these people, and be really, really thorough with your lead list building, who are your ICP, and also kind of posting quite regularly, or at least posting every few weeks. Um, Go onto their page, you know, build that list, go onto their page, like their post, engage with their post, sit back, let them reply, let them like. If they do that straight away, then that opens up the invitation to send a connection request. Okay? And if you can be really patient with this process, you will get results. After you send the connection request, you can either drop in a note that, you know, you really like their post or whatever, would be great to connect. Then you can use that as a kind of an icebreaker into a conversation again. And that's the key, is that you just want to be coming across as an engaging person, reaching out first of all because you've admired their content, and then kind of offer your services further down the line. So very simple sequence. Go onto their page, like their post, comment on their post, sit back, let it boil. If they don't reply or don't like, maybe give them another week, see if they post it again, and repeat that process. And when you get that engagement with them, then that's the time to send your connection request. Because if they've liked or commented your post, they know and you're aware of you for then. So there's a good chance they're going to accept your connection request then. In terms of what you're leading with then in the messaging when you want to get actual people on a sales call, you know, and this goes back to building out your offer. You know, I always recommend my clients to set up at least one small campaign that is direct outreach. So you're building a small list of people who generally, you know, are going to be ready to buy. So if it's, for example, if it's a marketing agency that is employed, you know, grown in 50% in size over the past 6 months, then I know they're probably looking for a lead gen service. So then you could probably hit them with a direct pitch outreach. And you know, people hate the hard sell, and people don't recommend it. I think that's bullshit. I think there is always people out there who are ready to buy and are ready for that direct pitch. So just find them and do that campaign. Secondly, though, you want to be doing a more of a long-term strategy. If you're looking for enterprise level clients, which a lot of my clients are, you want to be taking more of an account-based marketing approach. So you're finding your companies, then you're finding multiple people within those companies, trying to connect with these, trying to get conversations going with these, and then potentially build in a like high value resource like a lead magnet very specific for that company or for that industry, and then distributing that in the DMs. And if you can do that to 2 or 3 people within a company, you're increasing your chances of creating that internal conversation about you, about your service, and about that pain point that they have.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a more of an enterprise level kind of outreach sequence that definitely people should try.
Great, great. Just a wonderful explanation. Yeah, I remember when you were sharing a lot of tips about cold pitching, and you were sharing about a tool that I don't remember anymore, but it was quite big. And then the month after, or 2 weeks later, they shut it down. LinkedIn shut it down. It was a tool for lead gen, for prospecting. It was the logo was yellow, if I remember correctly.
Oh man, you're beating me there now. Is it? It's not Cleo that was recently removed.
Now, unfortunately, Jake, if you're
Yeah,
listening to us, please restore Cleo. We need it.
back Cleo. Yeah, bring back Cleo.
Yeah, but anyways, yeah, but the logo, I don't remember the name, but it was a very useful tool.
Mm,
Anyways, let's move
yeah.
on to the last part. For a person, if you can go back a little bit, what is lead generation and how it's useful for business, how it is generated on LinkedIn. Okay. Yeah, this is a very top of the funnel question, so I don't think it's worth it right now. But let's move on to the last part. We're approaching the first hour. When do you think? Sorry, we're approaching the first hour. Yeah, the end of this hour. Okay, sorry for my broken English. Um, when do you think is the moment for a marketing agency founder to start investing in ghostwriting?
I think if they're growing and I think they need to start building an organic pipeline, I think there's no better time than right now. I think if they're investing in paid ads, and they're not fully happy with how it's performing, or they know that it's not sustainable in terms of the money they're putting into it, then I think that is the time to start building your LinkedIn. I'm not just saying investing in a ghostwriter, just start. We're just talking about starting investing time and effort into your LinkedIn personal brand content strategy. If you want to scale it, that's when you invest in a ghostwriter. And if you have the budget to put into a ghostwriter who you know will be able to get you results, then that's when you need to start thinking about it. But I mean, yesterday is the time you should be putting time and effort into your LinkedIn brand if you're a marketing agency owner. If you're really starting to scale it and your company is starting to grow and you need more pipeline building strategies, then a LinkedIn ghostwriter is your way to go.
Great, great. Um, to wrap it up, we have a question from Olafare, Michael. So first of all, Michael, thank you for joining the live. He has been engaging with my content for quite some time. There is one part of the question that is very top of the funnel. I will not focus on that, but there is the second one, which is, and this is going to be useful also for a potential marketing agency founder who wants to start investing in LinkedIn. The question is, how easy is it to generate leads on LinkedIn?
It's not easy, and don't let anyone tell you that it is easy to generate leads on LinkedIn. It can be done, but it needs to be executed well. You might get away with generating a few leads here and there with kind of spray and pray tactics, but you need to know who you're going after, you need to know what problem you solve for them, and you need to know how you're actually going to go about doing it. Then it's about being consistent with the quality content that you put out there, and it's about putting time and effort into a well-researched outreach strategy. It's building lead lists that are detailed and being really, really thorough on your lead list building. I cannot overstate how important that is. It's being thorough, building those lists, making sure that 75% of those leads are qualified. You're not going to be able to qualify all 100% of them, but if you're building like lists and Sales Navigator for 1,500, 2,000 leads, and 75% of them are unqualified, then you're just completely wasting your time, and then it just becomes very difficult to actually build or to start generating leads on LinkedIn. But if you can do everything right in terms of having a direct strategy, taking a quality over quantity approach, then you'll be able to generate consistent leads. My clients are seeing anywhere from 2 to 5 leads every single week by doing this, just taking that quality over quantity approach.
Great. Great. Michael, I hope we answer your question. Um, and I think this is it, man. I didn't tell you while I was making you questions, but some of those questions were related to the questions made by the audience. So I think we covered everything. Any final word for any marketing founder watching this?
No, I would just, I honestly think every marketing agency owner should be building some personal brand on LinkedIn. Not every single one needs a ghostwriter. You
Yeah.
don't have to go that far, but I mean, I think it's such an irony. I think it looks so bad if you are a marketer and you're not marketing yourselves some way. I'm not talking, go all out there and be posting 2, 3, 4 times a week. Just a bit of content every now and then. Show us what you do. Tell us a bit about yourself, and bring a human element to it. And that'd be my advice.
I think we can stop here. Man, thank you for joining this live. I push on stop.
Thanks, man.